The world is getting crazier. People are acting more and more insane. The end of the world is tomorrow. There's only one thing to do when the world is falling apart. Listen to Basil and Gonz as they discuss this week's news and events through the lens of Bible prophecy.
You are listening to Canary Crime News Talk.
Hey everybody, this is Gonz. It's January 24th, 2017. Basil is on his return. He is almost back. He will most certainly be back next week. But until then,
I wish I was as smart as you, Gonz.
We still have Basilism.
Whoa.
And I've actually used up all of the different clips, so at this point it's just the same stuff over and over again from Basilism.
You know, I hadn't thought of it that way.
But there's plenty to talk about, and we only have a limited amount of time here, so I just want to jump right in.
You betcha, buddy.
And boy, what a weekend. It was, of course, the inauguration of Donald Trump, President Donald Trump, this weekend. It does sound weird. It does sink in a little bit weird, but here we are. And the chaos that ensued as soon as he was inaugurated was pretty disgusting. I have to admit, I was watching different live feeds from different angles. And of course, you take the MSNBCs, the CNNs, and they have a perspective that they're pushing. They have nothing good to say about Donald Trump, not a single positive at all. It's just all negative all the time on Trump. Now, on the flip side, a place like InfoWars, they're out there. I really like a couple of the reporters on InfoWars. I always tell folks, hey, if you want more accurate reporting, you're going to want to go to InfoWars in terms of what's going on. However, I have noticed the super positive for Donald Trump thing as well from InfoWars, and they're just sold out for Trump, who, by the way, today, during his first day, in office, basically, officially, he signed 3 executive orders. One of them was to withdraw from the TPP, which, of course, has always been a promise that he made, but there he is. He signed the papers. You can see the tweets with it. He also froze federal hiring and limited overseas abortion funding. So he's getting to work, signing things. Now, the thing is, though, these are just signatures on a piece of paper. For actual change to occur, I do believe it does take a little bit longer and, perhaps even years on some of these things to deconstruct and reconstruct in a certain way. Of course, it does depend on what topic we're talking about, what policy, whatever. But in terms of, actual action, quote unquote, by signing these executive orders, well, he's followed through with that. And so we'll have to see how things unfold. But getting back to the media thing here, man, it is just out of control. I was sitting there watching MSNBC, just kind of scoping out. I wasn't really sitting there paying too much attention, but it was the 11th hour with Brian Williams, the notorious liar, the guy who got suspended, who moved over to MSNBC about a year ago. And there was a report, and actually, I was trying to find the video for it online, and I could not find it. I could only find the first segment of his 11th hour program. The MSNBC channel has a video called Fact-Checking White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer's Inauguration Numbers. And of course, the Spicer presser, which was on Saturday, impromptu, it was supposed to be on Monday, but because of the way the mainstream media was framing the number of people that were at the Trump inauguration, Spicer came out and, he looked like he hadn't slept in about a week. He looked a little fired up, maybe too much coffee to try to keep going there. But, he really went after the mainstream media. And I thought that was great in terms of calling them out for their lies and their propaganda, because, of course, propaganda is legalized in this country. And, there's plenty of evidence to suggest that many of these mainstream outlets, news organizations, are just entertainment outlets funded heavily by, global interests and a sort of a socialistic world order type of thing, a liberal world order, as Joe Biden said at the Davos meeting a week ago. So there's all this admission happening now that we talked about last week, but this is what was weird. This is what stuck out to me with this MSNBC report, that it was actually a breaking news portion of it after the 11th hour, kind of in between, before Dateline. And again, I couldn't find the video online, so I would have played it for you, but unfortunately, I don't have it. Basically, a guest whose first name is Eli, I don't know his last name, on with Brian Williams talking about this whole thing. He basically said that what Spicer did was a psyop. Okay. He called Spicer's press conference a psyop. Now, earlier in that video I mentioned before, fact-checking White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer's inauguration numbers, the guy who, goes into the quote-unquote fact-checking says that the whole Spicer thing is a tactic out of the pages of a totalitarian government. And it's just so ironic because the totalitarian government was pretty much in place for the last 8 years. And with the Hillary Clinton presidency, we would have had a total globalist totalitarian thing. Now with Trump, it's almost like the pendulum has to swing the other direction because people need to trust the government again, and this is a great way to get people to rally up, to get behind a belief system, a worldview, a position of, Americana, of, the American dream, going back to the basic principles and playing on those themes. It was appealing, and it had to be done at this point in time because the pendulum swung so far left, and it was so blatantly obvious of, the globalist agenda that it was inevitable. They had to swing the pendulum the other way. They need to build faith back into the government system. And of course, Trump is a perfect candidate for that because he can help build the fourth industrial revolution. And in fact, during his inauguration speech, he did mention a couple things that definitely jumped out at me. And that had to do with unlocking the secrets of space and, curing diseases and things like that. Now, those are part of the transhumanist picture. Those are part of the technocratic dream. So in that regard, again, it just seems to be this pendulum going the other way in terms of that stuff. Now, the biggest thing that I think we need to keep an eye on with Donald Trump is the economy. We know the cover of the 1988 Economist with a rising phoenix, and it says, it's a one world currency, 2018, the Rothschilds behind the whole thing. And of course, during Trump's presidency, it will be 2018. Now, are they going to be able to achieve a one world global currency? I don't know. But in terms of a plan to do that, maybe Donald Trump will fight it. Maybe he's part of the agenda. We'll just have to wait and see. But that is the area that I think we should sort of keep an eye on, the economy, because Trump will get the economy moving again. But what does that mean? It means we're building something. It means we are creating jobs, which is good, and all that stuff. But it does mean we're building something, and it means we will incorporate the highest technologies that are available. Now, in this vein, this is very tough because on one hand, I would love to make more videos of exposing the mainstream media and their lies and just the blatant stuff that they say on CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, all this stuff. It's just over the top. And it's so easy to point out the lack of logic, the blatant lies, the, complete bias, the just all that stuff. It's very easy to point out how they perpetuate certain narratives, how they perpetuate the racism, how they perpetuate the sexism. It's incredible how they are able to do that. But I think there's enough of that out there. You have Mark Dice, you have Paul Joseph Watson, Owen Schroyer at InfoWars, and everybody at InfoWars, really. That stuff is out there already. And there's plenty of YouTube channels that are trying to expose this stuff. I think it's really good. And I've done a little bit, but I think there's another level here of accountability that needs to be had. And that is of this new media, because really InfoWars and Alex Jones and all this, they have become the mainstream media in terms of the news of political things that are going on around the world. And Alex Jones is completely sold out for Donald Trump. And the thing that really drives me crazy is his rhetoric. Okay. Now, Alex Jones is a guy that has helped millions and millions of people wake up to the global conspiracy. Okay. And I think his fight was genuine at some point. And some people say that he was he's Bill Hicks, or he's, just part of the globalist system, and, he's just the other arm. Well, I don't know that he started off that way. But now, it's kind of wishy-washy because, his principles and everything that he talked about was exposed. A lot of it was true. A lot of the lies that he was exposing with the political system and everything else, it was true. And a lot of it came to light this last year in this election cycle. And standing behind a Donald Trump campaign, Alex Jones was able to really get into the spotlight, get even bigger than he was before. Now he is basically mainstream news, which again, I'm saying is a better option than any of those other outlets like MSNBC, Fox, all that stuff. However, I think it's our job in the truth community, especially because there are a lot of Christians who buy into the Trump thing. And I got to be 100% honest, I voted for Trump too. It was mostly due to the fact that, number one, I couldn't vote for Hillary Clinton, obviously. The thought of a Hillary Clinton presidency was terrifying enough. In terms of politics, and in the vacuum of politics, I tended to agree with the policies that Donald Trump was suggesting that he would do. For example, eliminating TPP, which he signed the executive order for today. I'm on board with that. I don't think that's a good idea because it just opens up more of the same sort of, dare I say the word, raping of the United States, because there's no mutual respect going on. And this whole idea of America first in terms of trade, in terms of international business with America, the United States has just been trampled over. So in that sense, just logically, it just makes sense to put America first in these deals so that the homegrown companies, can sustain, can build, and can help the economy here in the United States. And we can be self-sufficient based on our own industries and everything that we produce in this country. We don't have to outsource. Now, that happened because of the lack of regulations, but also because it was cheaper to go overseas. There just has to be a better way to go about this. And I think Trump is trying to do that. And I think that is actually a good thing. Okay. And I also think that the elite are going to allow a level of prosperity to take place because, again, they need to get the people to trust in the political system again. And when it comes to Alex Jones, I think we need to hold his feet to the fire and question some of the things that he is pushing. All right. So again, this is a tough one because if you criticize Alex Jones or Donald Trump, the Trump supporters automatically assume, they get triggered now, and they assume that you are a liberal or you are a SJW, or this is the kind of stuff that I've been accused of with the videos I have posted already questioning, what Alex Jones is promoting and why he's promoting that. And the mixture of, hey, this is all about God. This is all about Christians. We're coming again. It's about truth. But also at the same time, he's talking about, I want to send my progeny to the stars. Go read the New Atlantis, Francis Bacon, all this stuff. And in fact, in recent days, Alex Jones has said the phoenix is rising, using the analogy of the United States rising again. He also had a few videos with some very interesting titles. And let me read those titles for you. Here's one that was published on January 23rd, 2017 on the Alex Jones channel. Breaking: Trump to release secret DARPA technology to the world. Very interesting headline here because of what Trump said in his inauguration speech about unlocking the mysteries of space, and we're going to build, and we're going to use the latest technologies. And also, if you listen to his speech at the CIA, there's kind of a wink, wink, nod, nod going on with the CIA people, suggesting that they know something. They're on the same wavelength with Trump in terms of some things that, have been held back from the American people, so to speak, that will be released. So very interesting, I think, that Alex Jones would sit there and start promoting this idea that they're going to release secret DARPA technology, a group that he's been going after forever, and all of a sudden it's a good thing because Trump's releasing it, okay? It just doesn't make any sense to me. Here's another video, very similar in title, Trump to release secret technology to public. / China is globalists' last hope to stop Trump. So InfoWars is pushing this war with the East, war with China kind of narrative. And at the same time, Alex Jones is promoting the positives of these technologies. Now, I think, at a certain level, there would be positive effects with technology that's been held back. I started Age of Deceit, the first movie, with a Fritz Springmeier quote, who said basically that if the Illuminati did not control the technology, our world would be, in just a much better place because, these elite groups of men hoard the technology and they don't share it with the rest of the people. And, the rest of the people die and get diseased and, they're poisoning us and the food and the water and all this stuff. And at the same time, the elite are using the latest in technology to stay young, live long, whatever it is. And so basically, Alex Jones's argument is that, the people should have access to these things. And in a vacuum, in the worldly sense, that is correct, right? That is the right thing. You want the most advanced things of technology that are available, that can help people to be available, right? So that makes sense. But again, when you start looking at down the road, what are we talking about? We're talking about the same things that the elite and the quote unquote Illuminati have wanted. Now Alex Jones and Donald Trump and all the quote unquote alt-right are in charge. Now all of a sudden they have all the answers to all these problems. I mean, that's what they are promoting. That's what they're pushing. Here's another headline from an Alex Jones video on his channel. Donald Trump to reveal globalist secrets of life extension and disease cures. Again, pushing this idea that all this technology, all the stuff that's been suppressed is going to be released. And let me play for you a little moment from one of these videos. This one's actually about the release of secret technology to the public. Listen to this clip here.
Trump intends to flood the entire planet with true globalism, with America as the operating system, the true America, not the modern liberal globalist eugenics America, but really working with people, really standing up for cultures that have good societies, crushing radical Islam, and transferring to the public, and transferring and ordering the pharmaceutical companies to, no, we're not going to treat all these cancers. You're going to give them the cures. And when I say cures, some people individually won't respond, but they've got stuff that's 99% effective. The elites are getting it. It's how they're living to 110, 115. So if you're educated, informed, you know all this. And a lot of people under the old globalist model were clamoring to be part of the new civilization that they thought would be separate from humanity. And if they groveled to the New World Order, they would get the cancer treatments. They would get the life extension. They could be part of the secret programs and projects that I guess those on Elysium would have access to. That's not happening now, if Trump has his way. The biggest secret of Trump is that he intends to turn loose all these disruptive technologies and to actually let partners have them and to work with Russia and others that also have advanced technologies, because he knows a deal was made to let China take over.
Okay, so he's going to get into China again, so I'll stop him before he goes on his China rant. But did you notice and catch a certain word? True globalism. Oh, we're fighting globalism. We're fighting globalism. Oh, Trump is president. Now we will have true globalism with America as its operating system. And he tends to release technology to partners. Back in the Edison Tesla days, right? Tesla was kind of suppressed. They went with Edison because they can make a profit. This feels like the same thing. The free technologies were suppressed. They were killing people. They were going after people who made free energy devices and things like that. Or had cures to cancer. There was that whole thing where, people were keeping track of dead biologists and scientists who seemed to be making huge progress towards curing cancer and other, diseases and things like that. So now all of a sudden that Trump is president, Alex Jones has 100% faith that Trump is almost like a savior figure. Now, I'm not saying he's the Antichrist at all, okay? And I've made the video and I've, looked at it, and it's unlikely that Trump is the Antichrist. He would have to do certain things. However, in terms of an archetype, in terms of partial fulfillments, in terms of a type of fulfillment, looking at the wars of the Antichrist, and then looking at scriptures that talk about peace before destruction comes, there's a certain level of building that I think needs to happen if Satan really is going to be able to issue the mark of the beast and the worshiping of the image of the beast on a massive scale, right? And as part of his agenda and part of his plan to enslave humanity. So the infrastructure isn't quite there yet, but they're getting there. They're building towards it. And Trump is the perfect guy to really revolutionize technology to a whole new level. And one of the main outlets of media is InfoWars. They're at the center of this transition into what Alex Jones is suggesting is the real globalism. All right. So, man, I mean, I couldn't believe Alex Jones would say that. I mean, the word globalist has been his dartboard for so many years, and then all of a sudden, when Trump becomes president, everything is pro-globalism. And to me, I just have to point that out. And as a watchman, I have to tell fellow Christians who are following InfoWars and following Alex Jones and, are totally backing him to sort of take a step back and just realize that while you're going to get more accurate news from InfoWars, okay, they're going to fight the quote unquote mainstream media, CNN, all them. That fight is going to be perpetual, but at the same time, they're pushing a worldview as well, and that's InfoWars and Alex Jones. They have an agenda that they're pushing, and as much as I like them and as much as I'm rooting for them over these other news networks that are just absolute garbage, I think that we have to, again, hold their feet to the fire as well, especially Christians, because, when Alex Jones promotes certain ideas, and especially when we're talking about these futuristic ideas moving forward into the future and all these new technologies and all this stuff, we have to be careful because we are really talking about the topic of transhumanism when it comes to those technologies. I mean, what is the life extension technology? What are we talking about? Well, how extensive is it? Is it bioengineering? Is it CRISPR technology, reconstructing your DNA, fusing DNA or splicing different DNA from animals or plants or whatever into the human DNA? That kind of stuff is doable now. And it may be an unintended consequence to this new globalism with America as the operating system, as Alex Jones says. So, keep an eye out for that. Just pray about it, be discerning about it. And that's the thing. That's the word that I'm looking for, discernment, because this political thing has divided people in both directions. But there's also a few people who are kind of sitting in the middle. And of course, the path is always narrow, right? And at the same time, issues aren't always black and white, And so with a Donald Trump presidency, comparative to the Hillary thing, much better. However, there are certain things that still concern because, again, we're talking about human beings in this human system holding the reins to the world of which is ruled by the fallen one, And so ultimately at the very top, either if it's a group of men or if it's Satan himself, ultimately I believe it's Satan himself, but I do believe that there is a high level group that really does communicate with Satan at a very practical level to trickle down all the things that he wants to see. And divide and conquer is always the Hegelian dialectic. All this stuff is there, and the tactics are pretty obvious. And if you step away from the Trump mania type thing, you can see that his policies and some of the things that he plans to do in the realm of technology and economics would ultimately benefit a New World Order elite, whoever that wanted that stuff to begin with. Because if you really think about it, if you were this mastermind, evil, whatever, and you wanted stuff to be built, what would you do? You would figure out a way to get the people to do it, right? And what was Trump's big line at the beginning? We're giving power back to you, the people, right? And of course, the Pope came out and said, populist leaders are dangerous because, Hitler, look at Hitler, all this stuff. Oh, the Hitler comparisons, it's just absurd in terms of everybody just throwing the Hitler thing around. And, it is kind of sad. I did a word of encouragement this past Sunday, and it was all about love in the midst of chaos, because I was watching all the protesters. I was watching the interviews that, these brave InfoWars reporters were, capturing with conversations and talking to people. And my gosh, my head started hurting listening to some of the logic or just the interactions. And I think there was maybe one I saw that was a civil conversation, a good conversation, trying to stick on the points and really having a discussion, but saying that they're open-minded or, they're open to Trump doing something good. I'll be honest and say, hey, if he does good for the Americans, then I'm all for it. So some people are open-minded like that, but for the most part, it was just, I don't even think people were able to fully be cohesive in their message, because it was just a big mixed bag of hate, of ad hominems, regurgitating talking points that have been pumped through the mainstream media. And at the same time, InfoWars reported that many of the groups, a majority of the groups that were out there on Saturday for that march, the Women's March, was paid for by George Soros, another globalist. And so, there you have it. It's kind of this big mess. And so, but it just seems like the whole thing is going to continue as planned or shifting in plan. That's a big question. It really doesn't matter, but some people say that, Trump was chosen to be this guy to bring in this other part of the New World Order. I don't know. I don't know that for sure, but it does seem like they are trying to use him anyway, regardless of the fact that they may not have had Trump as part of the plan for moving forward here. But per usual, the highest elite of the elite can use any situation for their benefit because they think that they're God. Okay, they really do. They really think that they will be gods if they serve Lucifer. And, somebody like Henry Kissinger, who back in 2008, with his old, deep kind of growling voice, we're going to build a great opportunity to build a new world order. And then here with Trump, he's doing the same thing. This is a great opportunity to build a global order.
You make an excellent point, Gons.
Well, that's about all the time we have for this episode of Canary Cry News Talk. Make sure to tune in next week when Basil will be back and no more Basilism. But until then, think outside the cage.
Thanks for listening to Canary Cry News Talk. If you liked what you heard, please share it with others by word of mouth or on your social media. Also, please rate and review on iTunes so iTunes robots will share it with unsuspecting victims. Canary Cry News Talk is supported by you, the listener. If you'd like to support Canary Cry News Talk financially or to learn more, please visit canarycrynewstalk.com.